Hari Om. Let us start with a invocation. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Vīryaṁ Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Welcome to yet another session of Urubhangam, and we are seeing how the soldiers are describing the battlefield. All that fierceness of what is happening with all the bībhatsarasa delineated by Mahakavi Bhasa has been portrayed in front of us, so much so that we can visualize the entire battlefield in front of our mental eyes. So we continue with the soldier's description of the battlefield. We did up to verse number 12, and then again it starts from the first soldier. Aho īdṛśānāmapi avasthāyāṃ avimukta-shobhāः virājante kṣatriyāḥ. īdṛśānāmapi avasthāyāṃ. What does it mean? If such a very terrible and terrifying continuation, the situation where the dead bodies are lying here and there, not only of the human beings and the warriors, but the elephants, the horses, the broken chariots, the blood rivers are flowing all across, and the vultures and the female foxes are pouncing upon they are feasting upon the dead bodies. What a gruesome, loathsome picture. But the soldier notices that in spite of such a terrifying situation all around, the faces of the brave warriors, they are shining forth. There is not even an iota of fear, on the faces of these brave warriors who have embraced smilingly the Yuddhashri, the glory and the death on the battlefield while fighting against their enemies. īdṛśānāmapi avasthāyāṃ avimukta-shobhāः. Shobha, the kanti, the glory, the charm, the loveliness on the faces of the warriors has not left them at all. So they are glowing with all their charms. And then naturally follows a big verse giving you a depiction how the faces of these warriors look like as if, the fully blown lotuses. Not a very good upama, right? But it is an upama with bībhatsarasa. Let us read the verse. satrodvartitanetraṣaṭpadagaṇā tāmroṣṭhapatrotkarā bhrūbhedāñcitakesarā svamakuṭavyāviddhasaṃvartikā vīryādityavibodhitā raṇamukhe nārācanālonnatā niṣkampā sthalapadminīva racitā rājñāmabhītairmukhaiḥ. rājñāmabhītairmukhaiḥ. By the faces of these brave kings, which do not show any sign of fright, fear, on their faces, abhītaihi mukhaihi, kesham rājñāṃ, of the kings, racitā iva, as if it has been decorated, with what? Sthalapadminīva, with a ground lotus creeper, not the lotus creeper, the kamalini which blooms in the ponds or in the water bodies, but this is sthalapadmini. Some people say sthalapadmini is as good as the creeper of roses. Roses, normally we see roses, the thorny bush of rose, right? But there is the creeper also of roses. And in the creeper, it grows on the ground, on the soil, and in between there will be the lotuses bloomed. So this is a row of all these dead kings lying on the battlefield, and the faces without any fear on their face. They look like sthalapadminīva racitā. And how is this sthalapadmini? Niṣkampā, not moving at all, not moving because there is no wind. Okay, wind has stopped blowing. So niṣkampā sthalapadminīva racitā rājñāmabhītairmukhaiḥ. So sthalapadmini, all the prathamanta visheshanas, they are the adjectives of sthalapadmini. How is this sthalapadmini? Srastha udvartitanetraṣaṭpadagaṇā. Srastha and udvartita netra, the eyes have come out of their sockets. Of the faces, the eyes, the eyeballs have as if come out of the sockets. Srastha udvartita, they have slipped, and they have udvartita, turned out, twisted, and the pupils have come out so much so that all these pupils, the eyeballs, the dark black eyeballs, they look like the black bees. Śatpadagaṇā. So there are so many faces lying, and two eyes on every face. It is like a row of the black bees, because only the black portion is visible and nothing more is visible. Srastha udvartita netra षट्पद. So srastha udvartita netrāni eva षट्पदगणाः. This is a rupaka here. tāmroṣṭhapatrotkarā, their red lips. Tāmroṣṭha, oṣṭha. Oṣṭha is basically the upper lip and adhara means the lower lip. So we have two different words for lips in Sanskrit. Okay. Oṣṭha means the upper lip and adhara means the adhara, the lower one, the lower lip. Here tāmroṣṭhapatrotkarā, the lotus-like leaf of these lips, the shape, this looks like a leaf, patra, and this is like oṣṭhapatrotkarā. So these are the red lips as if they are, the kesara, the pollen grains, the filaments coming out of the lotus. Tāmroṣṭhapatrotkarā, not a good upama, but nonetheless it is an upama. Tāmroṣṭhapatrotkarā, the fearless faces of the kings, their eyes fallen out and turned upward, forming the swarms of bees, and their red lips, the multitude of petals. Then bhrūbhedāñcitakesarā, the bhrūbheda, these are the lotus petals, not the pollen grains, not the filament. Kesara comes as bhrūbhedāñcita, the twisted eyebrows, because they have knitted their eyebrows while fighting, so that knitting eyebrows, knitted eyebrows are still there like frozen on their faces. So bhrūbhedāñcita, anchita, twisted, bhrūbheda, they look like the kesara, the pollen. Bhrūbhedāñcitakesarā, svamakuṭavyāviddhasaṃvartikā, knitted eyebrows are the graceful filaments, and their diadems, their crowns, mukuta, svamukuta, their diadems, the sprouting shoots of the lotus. How can it be the sprouting shoots? But the gems studded, the gems embedded in that, they are glowing, and therefore it looks like as if the sprouts of that, the shoots of that. Vīryādityavibodhitā. Now normally Kamalini, Nalini, it is, the petals bloom at the rays of the sun. At the sunrise, normally the lotuses bloom, right? And therefore these lotuses are awakened as if from their deep slumber by Aditya. But who is this Aditya? Not that phenomenal Aditya who is shining up in the sky, but Viryāditya, Viryarupi Aditya, the bravery itself, the shaurya itself being the Aditya. So their shaurya, their bravery, it has challenged them to to fight against their enemies here, and therefore vīryādityavibodhitā, raṇamukhe, in the midst of the battlefield, nārācanālonnatā. Now the lotuses must have the stem also, the stalk also, be it the lotuses which are blooming in the water or on the ground. There should be a stem, there should be the nāla, and that nāla is made up of nāraca, the iron arrows. The body is also of iron, nāraca, we have discussed it. It is not only the tip of the arrow which is made up of iron, but the entire sleek, the body of the arrow is also made up of iron. So, nārācanālonnatā, maybe they are hit with arrows and their heads are resting on their arrows, and therefore it looks like this nāraca is the nāla, the lotus stalk, the kamalini stalk, and the faces, they are like the lotuses, and the eyes turned out look like the bhramara, their lips look like the petals of the lotuses, their diadems, they look like the offshoots, the shoots, and the knitted eyebrows as if the paraga. So, vīryādityavibodhitā, raṇamukhe, nārācanālonnatā, niṣkampā, and because these are dead kings, the bodies are dead, the heads are severed from their bodies, and therefore there is no movement at all. There is no movement. So, as a sthalakammalini would be still, devoid of the winds blowing, how it will look? Similarly, because there is no movement on the faces of these dead kings, it looks like a niṣkampā, sthalapadminīva racitā, rājñāmabhītairmukhaiḥ. rājñāmabhītairmukhaiḥ, sthalapadminīva racitā. Īdṛṣā sthalapadmini, niṣkampā. And then all these prathamantas are the adjectives of this sthalakammalini. Those who have read Kalidasa's upamas, they become very relishable, they are like very poetic and aesthetically, enjoyable. Somehow Bhasa's description doesn't appeal to the sahridaya, to the connoisseur to that extent. dvitīyaḥ. īdṛśānāmapi kṣatriyāṇāṃ mṛtyuḥ prabhavati iti na śakyaṃ khalu viṣamasthaiḥ puruṣai ātmabalādhānaṃ kartum. Death alone prevails, These brave warriors at the end, they had to meet their death like this. The death prevails even over such brave, valiant warriors. Indeed, for men in difficult times, they can't exercise their own power, howsoever brave, howsoever valiant they may be. The times turn difficult and they also have to meet their ends like this. So, all these kings, they are not like ordinary soldiers, They might have fought big wars in their lifetime. They might have won the battles, But now they had to face such a dire situation because time, it changes, and death alone is the supreme truth. Maranam prakritihi manushyanam and jivitam tu vikritihi. In Ramayana also it is said that what is the real nature of the people? Mṛtyuḥ is the sole truth which prevails, and we are living, that is only a vikara. We live as long as the time favors us, obliges us to breathe, otherwise mṛtyuḥ is the reality, It is so very true. Viṣamasthaiḥ puruṣai. Viṣama is adverse situation. Viṣamasthaiḥ puruṣai ātmabalādhānaṃ kartum na śakyaṃ. In the adverse situations, in the adverse circumstances, people of this caliber, This caliber, the caliber of these great warriors, Atma Bala Adhanam Kartum Na Shakyam. They cannot manifest or reveal the strength, the power, the valiance which they possess. Otherwise, it is good, but when the times become adverse, then it is not favorable to them. One person says, mṛtyureva prabhavati kṣatriyāṇāṃ. So, for the Kshatriyas, mṛtyu is the whole soul truth. Saṃśayaḥ, there is no doubt about it. But then there is one soldier who says, it is not mṛtyu. Mṛtyu comes through somebody. It is not that death has embraced, or these warriors have embraced death smilingly. They were caused to die by someone, and that is the mighty warrior, the mighty archer Arjuna. So the next verse gives you all the bravery and the exploits of archer Arjuna, Veera Arjuna. Let us read this. This is little bit Atishayokti Alankara. The former one was Upama with Bibhatsarasa. And here comes Atishayokti Alankara, but nonetheless it praises Arjuna to great extent. Sprishtva Khandava Dhuma Ranjita Gunam Samshaptakotsadanam Swarga Krandaharam Nivata Kavacha Pranopaharam Dhanuho Parthe Nasra Balan Maheshwara Rana Kshepavashishtaisharaihi Darpotsikta Nripa raṇamukhe mṛtyuḥ pratigrahitaḥ. Parthena, by Arjuna, Nripaha, these kings, mṛtyuḥ pratigrahitaḥ upayani kritaḥ. By Arjuna, these kings were as if gifted to the Lord of Death, mṛtyuḥ, raṇamukhe, in the midst of the battlefield. How are these nripaha? Darpotsikta darpena utsiktaha vashaha cha nripaha. All these kings are utsikta, they are arrogant because they are boastful of their own valor. Darpa, garva, they are very proud of their might, of their strength, of their bravery. And therefore, darpena utsikta those who have become like very haughty and arrogant because of their boastfulness, because of their pride in their own might, such kings were as if gifted by Arjuna to the god of death. So it is not that god of death stole or snatched away their lives. Arjuna has gifted these kings, to the god of death. So it is, he has caused all their deaths. It is not mṛtyu, it is Arjuna. By Vatireka, Arjuna is even superior to the god of death. That is suggested here. And for that, what he had to do? There are so many, Nivata Kavacha, Sanshaptaka and Khandava Dhuma. 3 stories are there in this single verse. This also, gives you how Mahakavi Bhasa is so, so close to the times of Mahabharata. He knows all these stories and anecdotes and uses them whenever it is proper. Sprishtva Khandava Dhuma Ranjita Gunam. What Arjuna had to do? Just touch the bowstring of his Gandiva Dhanushya. Guna has 2 meanings in Sanskrit. Guna is a quality or a virtue, and guna also means a string, a rope, a thread. Okay. So he just had to touch the bowstring, which has become dark, smoky because of Khandava Daha. This again has, story of the Khandava Dahana, which is given in the Mahabharata, and it is said that Agni was very hungry and he wanted to devour and gulp down the entire Khandava Prastha, which was a dense forest. And Arjuna said, yes, I will give the entire forest to you. This is a phenomenon of a wildfire which burnt the entire forest life in that area, okay. All the animals, birds, bees, etc. Everything was burnt. And nobody should escape that wildfire, and therefore Arjuna had as if created a fencing all around the area with his arrows. That is all a story. So because of this Khandava Daha, and that is the place, that is the modern Delhi now, where they established a city called Indraprastha. It was formerly Khandava Prastha. Prastha is a pate. Prastha is a territory, a land, okay, like Pattanam. So Khandava Prastha was turned into Indraprastha later, And Agni was very happy with Arjuna that Agni was fully satisfied by eating, by devouring all the trees and bushes and animals and birds, etc., etc. And it was from there only that Maya, he was saved by the Pandavas, and who later on built the Maya Sabha. We all know the story of Maya Sabha and the descriptions of Maya Sabha, that great architect. So, Sprishtva Khandava Dhuma Ranjita Gunam Dhanuhu. He Sprishtva Dhanuhu, he just touched his Dhanu, which had the bowstring, which turned smoky because of the fire in Khandava Prastha. Khandava Dhuma Ranjita. Khandava Dahena Yaha Dhumaha Utsarjitaha Tena Dhumena Ranjitam Gunam Yasya Tadrisham Dhanuhu. Again that Dhanu, so this is one story, one part of the story of Khandava Daha. Then Saṃśayaḥ. Saṃśayaḥ, this is a battalion of warriors, and they hailed from a country called Trigarta. And in fact Trigarta we know as the king Virata ruled over Trigartas. In Virata Parva we have this in Mahabharata itself. So these Trigartas, they were hundreds and very brave warriors, and they were fighting from the side of Duryodhana, Saṃśayaḥ. And they had taken a vow, This is the 13th day of the 18-day Mahayuddha of Kurukshetra. On the 13th day, Dronacharya made a Chakravyuha, and that was to entrap Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu knew how to penetrate that array, that vyuha, but he did not know how to come out of it. So he knew how just to enter. So he entered, he went in and in and in, and he was closed down by the warriors in the array, and therefore he was all left alone when he was killed by 6-7 mighty warriors in front of him. A boy of 16 years of age was pounced upon, like hungry lions and tigers in the form of these warriors. Now, while Abhimanyu was entrapped there, Arjuna was deliberately kept away. He should not come to the help of Abhimanyu. And who engaged them? These were the Saṃśayaḥ. They vowed that till the last man in their battalion is living, they will not let Arjuna go to the help of Abhimanyu. Either they will kill Arjuna or get killed by his arrows. And the hundreds of warriors, they all got killed by the evening time almost. And when Arjuna rushed there, he just heard about the news of Abhimanyu being killed. So these are the Saṃśayaḥ. And because they took the Shapatha, they were called Saṃśayaḥ. They were vowed warriors that they will not let Arjuna go anywhere before he killed all of them. So Saṃśayaḥ, brave warriors, and all of them got killed. and then only Arjuna could go, Arjuna was released. So Utsadanam, that bow, that Gandiva, in fact that Gandiva was given by Agni, who was very much pleased with Arjuna when Arjuna, guarded the entire Khandava Prastha and allowed Agni to devour everything inside. So pleased Agni gave him that bow which is called Gandiva. So samshaptakotshadanam dhanuhu, then swargakrandaharam. This is again that dhanu which which has removed akranda of the ladies of the celestial beings. I mean, Arjuna has multiple times gone to the help of the gods against their fight with the Asuras. So many times they used to call Arjuna, and Arjuna used to go and fight for them against the Asuras and thereby remove the akrandana, the cries, lamentations of the celestial beings. So Swarga akranda haram dhanuhu. Again one more story comes here. Nivata kavacha pranopaharam dhanuhu. Which prana upaharam dhanuhu, which got a gift of the lives of Nivata Kavacha. Now who are these Nivata Kavacha? You can also search, Google Swami will also help you in giving the answers, but let me give you a little bit information. Nivata Kavacha, Kavacha is armor, right? Kavacha is an armor. Nivata is Nirvata. Nirvata, which even wind cannot penetrate. Nirgataha vataha yasmat tādrisham kavacham nivata kavacham. So that kavacha fits in so closely to the body that even a small breeze or wind cannot go inside that. So these are the special type of warriors. These are the warriors of Kubera. These are the warriors of Kubera, and they put on armors which even wind cannot penetrate and cannot open up. Okay, so what to talk about Kaimuti Kanyayena? How can the arrows of any other warrior pierce it? Even wind cannot go inside it. So Nivata Kavacha is a special class of warriors, and they are the protectors of the Navanidhi of Kubera, great treasures of Kubera. So Nivata Kavacha pranopaharam, but Arjuna was so brave a warrior, where wind cannot go, his arrows could pierce. So this is all glorifying Arjuna's exploits. His dhanu, his Gandiva dhanu is the one which allowed Agni to devour the entire Khandava. It is the one which killed every single person in the battalion of the Samshaptakas, which was, capable of removing the distress of the heavenly beings, and which sought a gift, fetched the gift of the lives of even the Nivata Kavachas. Such Parthena, Astrabalat Maheshwara Ranapkshepav-shishtaih Sharaihi Nripaha mṛtyuḥ pratigrahitaha. By his arrows, Sharaihi, he has killed all these Nripas who are looking like the Sthalakamalini, the bloomed lotuses, like you see here. So these proud and haughty kings, they are killed in the battle, raṇamukhe, by the arrows, discharging of the arrows, kshepa avashishtaih sharaihi, which were left over, avashishtaih sharaihi, after his fight with Shiva. Maheshwara Rana Kshepa Avashishta. Again another story, and this is a story which is taken up by Mahakavi Bharavi for his Mahakavya Kiratarjuniyam. So it was Arjuna, at the request of Dvaipayana Vyasa, he went to fetch Pashupatastra and did tapas. And you know that story that there came a boar, and Shiva also came in the form of a hunter. In fact, in the SIF campus, you must have seen the Vettakorumakkan shrine, Vettakorumakkan happens to be the family deity of the Nambudris here, the Aryamba's house. And Vettakoru is a hunter, Bhilla, and Makkan is sun. So this is the son of the Kirata Vapu Shiva. Okay. So this is the story, and Arjuna showed great valiance in fighting against Lord Shiva himself. But there came a point when he realized that his arrows are turning futile. So this warrior is not any ordinary bhilla, any ordinary hunter. And then when he meditated, he was worshipping and meditating upon Lord Shiva for Pashupatastra, and he could see the flowers offered on the lingam there at the feet of this Kirata. And then he realized this is Shiva himself. He lay prostrate at his feet, and then Shiva gave him Pashupatastra. So that is the story. So he, showered on Maheshwara so many arrows. So his Banasana, his Sharasana is stated to be Akshaya. The arrows won't cease to exist in that. Continuously the arrows would get filled in automatically. The more arrows he would take out, it will get filled in automatically. So after fighting and after showering so many arrows on Lord Shiva, whatever arrows were remaining, with those arrows he killed these nripas, these kings, and as if gifted them to the god of death. So it is not death which deprived the kings of their lives, it was Arjuna who killed them, and this is how death prevailed on them. So it is not death which rules, it is Arjuna who rules, and Arjuna is the most brave warrior here in the battlefield. So very beautiful verse, and in a way hyperbolic expressions, and therefore you can see Atishayokti Alankara, but very beautifully described the exploits of Arjuna, and very mythologically also very rich verse, 3-4 myths of Khandava Dahana, Samshaptakotsadana, Nivata Kavacha, and Maheshwara Rana. 4 different stories, episodes are referred to in this single verse. Now this description is getting over, it should get over now, right? We are also reading this for 3 Sundays, and the description of battlefield is not getting over. Now it's high time. Actual Gada Yuddha of Bhima and Duryodhana starts, and we get a description of that. And the next survey, suddenly, when they are describing all these things, suddenly they hear lots of thundering voice. And what it is, they can't make it out, they can't figure it out what it is. Aye, Shabdaha. What a noise. It's not just a sound, it's a great noise. Aye, Shabdaha. Kim megha ninadanti vajrapatanaihi churni kritah parvataha. Nirghataihi tumulasvana pratibhayaihi kim daryate vamahi. Kim munchatya nilavadhuta chapalakshubdhormimala kulam shabdah mandara kandaro daradari samhatya vasagaraha. Good anuprasa also, and very good verse. Again, Atishayokti, very beautiful example of Atishayokti Alankara, hyperbole. I am reminded of something like in Marathi, there was a great dramatist, Gadkari, Raga Gadkari, Ram Ganesh Gadkari. Mungyanni meru parvattar gilla nahina. Is it not that, this is an expression of hyperbolic expression. So, Mungyanni meru parvat gilla nahina means, have the ants devoured the Meru mountain? Is it possible? The Meru mountain, the loftiest of the mountains, is devoured, is eaten up by the ants. This is something unbelievable, unpredictable thing to happen. But that is the way Atishayokti Alankara is normally expressed, So this is a good example of Atishayokti. Kim megha ninadanti? Is it the thundering of the clouds? Megha ninadanti? Or vajrapatanaihi churnikritah parvataha? Or the parvatas, the mountains are smashed and powdered. Churnikritaha. Churna is powder. Are they powdered? And if you do powder of little, you just put on your grinder mixer to powder something, some grains, some dal and all, so much noise it makes. If the mountains were to be crushed and powdered, what a great noise it will create. So this great noise is as if churnikritah parvataha. By what? Vajrapatanaihi. Indra has hit hard the parvatas, the mountains, with his ayudha, that is vajra, and with that thunderbolt he has smashed and powdered these mountains, and that terrible crushing, powdering noise, that is emitted. Is it that? Nirghataihi tumulasvana pratibhayaihi kim daryate vamahi? Or is it that there is a great, huge earthquake and the earth is torn asunder, making crackling sound? Nirghataihi tumulasvana. Tumula, great. Svana, noise. Pratibhayaihi, which is echoed and re-echoed. Kim daryate vamahi? Is it that the earth has given way, and while widening the gap, it will make crackling sound. So is that sound? Are there mighty earthquakes happening here? Or the last two lines give you kim va munchati shabdam sagaraha. Or is it the sound of the ocean? Ocean, how is this ocean? Samhatya mandara kandarodara darihi. The Sagara, which is passing through the Mandara mountains, through the valleys and caves of Mandara mountains. So that sound, the sound of the waves, Anilavadhuta chapala kshubdha urmi mala kulam. Big compounded words used by Bhasa. Anila is wind, avadhuta shaken by the wind, chapala kshubdha urmi mala kulam. The Sagara, the ocean, is full of urmi mala kulam, the waves coming one after the other, as if they are coming in a garland way. Urmi is wave. Urminam mala. So it is as if a mala, one after the other, the waves are coming and dashing, Urmi mala kulam. How are these waves? Very perturbed, kshubdha. Because in the midst of the ocean, when there come waves, they are as tall as a building, some 15, 20 or 30, 40 feet high. And when these waves dash against the caves and the valleys, the rocks of the Mandara mountain, they would produce a very harsh and very, unbearable sound, unbearable noise. So this Sagara, which is filled with such urmis, such tall, great waves, and they are shaken by the wind, Anilavadhuta chapala kshubdha urmi mala kulam, and secondly, they are dashing against the caves and the valleys of the Mandara mountain. Dari and Kandara mean one and the same. So along with that, they produce a very big noise. So in all, this is just the description of some great noise happening, and what it is, they don't know. And then pashyamastavat, let them go and see. Bhavatu pashyamaha tavat sarve parikramanti, and then they realize, oh, This is the sound of the Gadaghata of Bhima and Duryodhana. Bhima and Duryodhana are fighting with their clubs, with their maces, and when they are hitting each other and each other's ayudha, that has created such a great noise. Kim megha ninadanti vajrapatanaihi churnikrita parvataha. Otherwise parvata won't be powdered. It is churnikrita. It is abhuta tadbhave chvihi. This is a chvi form. Churnikrita parvataha. Nirghataistu mulasvana pratibhayai kim daryate vamahi. Mahi is not, giving way. It is not quaking on its own. Daryate, it is a prayojaka. It is a nijanta prayoga. It is caused to be torn. So it is not a natural phenomenon which is occurring. Somebody is causing that mahi to split apart, So daryate, very clever use of this grammatical form, nijanta. Kim daryate vamahi, kim munchatya nilavadhuta chapalakshubdhormi malakulam, shabdam mandara kandarodharadari samhatyava sagaraha. So this is a huge sound, which they hear. Bhavatu pashyamastavat. Let us see. Sarve parikramanti, all three of them. There are three soldiers on the stage who are describing the battlefield. They all go and see prathamaḥ. He says, aye, yes, I can figure it out. What it is? Etat khalu. This is indeed Draupadi kesha dharshana avamarshitasya pandava madhyamasya bhimasenasya bhratrushat vadha kriddhasya maharaja duryodhanasya cha dvaipayana halayudha krishna vidura pramukhanam kuru yadu kula daivatanam pratyaksham pravrittam gadayuddham. Aye, etat khalu pravrittam gadayuddham. Oh, here indeed starts the club fight, the mace fight. Pratyaksham, it is witnessed. Witnessed by who all? Dvaipayana, that is Vyasa. Dvaipayana, he is called Dvaipayana because he was born in a dvipa, in an island of Parashara and Satyavati, right? So Dvaipayana, that is Vyasa, Krishna Dvaipayana. Halayudha, that is Balarama. Then Krishna and Vidura. Original Mahabharata will have Krishna and Balarama there, but not Dvaipayana and Vidura. Bhasa has made them also witness this. Okay? So Dvaipayana, Halayudha, Krishna, Vidura, Pramukhanam, Kuru Yadu Kula Daivatanam. These are who? These are the great elderly people, respectable people from Kuru Vansha and Yadu Vansha. From Kuru Vansha it is Dvaipayana and Vidura. From Yadu Vansha it is Halayudha and Krishna. So, Tesham Pratyaksham, witnessed by them, Pravrittam Gadayuddham. This Gadayuddha has begun. Gadayuddha of who? Who to? Bhimasenasya Duryodhanasya cha. And there are two adjectives. Who is Bhimasena? How is this Bhimasena? Draupadi kesha dharshana avamaršitasya pandava madhyamasya. He is the middle of the Pandavas. Now if you take 5 Pandavas, the middle of the Pandavas would be Arjuna. But if you take only Kaunteyas, the middle of the Pandavas is Bhimasena. And popularly by Pandava Madhyama, it is Bhimasena and not Arjuna. We have another separate one-act play by Bhasa, which we will be reading the next, Madhyama Vyayoga. So Madhyama, by this word, never ever Arjuna is referred to. It is always Bhimasena. So Pandava Madhyamasya, and he is Avamarshita, very wrathful, very enraged, very angry. Because of what? Draupadi Kesha Dharshana. Because Dushasana pulled Draupadi, his dear wife, holding and pulling her hair. Draupadi Kesha Dharshana. Dharshana is assault, insult. It was insulting Draupadi by pulling her hair. Hair is, if you see the motif of hair, it is very dear to all the women, and somebody touches their hair, somebody pulls at their hair, it is the greatest of the insult. And bringing somebody, dragging, pulling by hair is the most contemptuous act of insulting the person. And Draupadi was dragged to the court of the Kauravas, court of the Kauravas, in front of all, Dhritarashtra, Bhishma, etc., by Dushasana, pulling at her hair. And seeing that, Bhimasena had vowed that I will, kill Dushasana and I'll drink his blood. And then Duryodhana also, he opened up, he removed his cloth from his thighs and indicated Draupadi to sit on his lap because you are my dasi now, like a slave. And therefore he had vowed to smash the thighs of Duryodhana. So all this was, triggered by the insult of Draupadi when she was pulled at by her hair. So many artists, I knew of one artist in Mumbai who had given, a spatial, exhibition of her pictures where hair and women, this was the motif, hair of the women, and how different forms, of hair fondling, hair caressing, and pulling by hair. Pulling by hair is the utmost of an insult which a woman can face. So Draupadi Kesha Dharshana Avamarashitasya Pandava Madhyamasya Bhimasenasya. And he is Avamarshita. Okay, Bhimasena is Avamarshita. What about Duryodhana? He is also Kruddhasya. He is also angry because of what? Bhratrushata Vadha. Hundreds of his. Here again, as we came across earlier, Shata, if he is alive, including him, there are 100 Kauravas. So Bhratrushata, you just take it as not a finite number, as 99 plus 100, hundreds of his brothers. Okay. So Bhratrushata Vadha, all his brothers were killed by Bhimasena and Arjuna. So he was fully angry, and he is Maharaja Duryodhana. He is the Maharaja from the Kaurava Paksha. So Bhratrushata Vadha Kruddhasya Maharaja Duryodhanasya cha Dvaipayana Halayudha Krishna Vidura Pramukhanam Kuru Yadu Kula Daivatanam Pratyaksham Pravrittam Gadayuddham. So this Gadayuddha has already started, and then follows the description of how each one is hitting each other, and again that description will go on for a few verses before Duryodhana actually, is completely shattered. His thighs are broken by Bhimasena, and he comes crawling on the stage. Before that, we'll have to read some few more verses of their Gadayuddha, but I think better we stop here now, and we'll see the Gadayuddha, actual Gadayuddha description, how both of them are, competent to fight against each other. None is superior, none is inferior. But still there, if the comparison is to be made, then the soldiers, describe that, Bhimasena is mightier because of his stout body and all. He has more might, but Duryodhana has more skill. So Duryodhana is well trained. Duryodhana happens to be the best and the most favorite of the pupils of Halayudha, Baladeva. Okay, Balarama's best Pattashishya was Duryodhana. He was well trained by Balarama. He was more skilled, whereas Bhimasena used his might, physical might, more than his skill of Gadayuddha. So that is the only differentiation between these two. Otherwise, both are like Tulya Bala. They are, like fit people to fight against each other and take on one-on-one, each other. So let us stop here and wait for the description of the Gada Yuddha next time. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. See you next Sunday. Till then, Hari Om.